Hey guys, I'm back, and did somebody say, is this another client tutorial? Yes sis, it is another client tutorial. I don't know what it is, but I've just been really excited to do these and to make these videos for you. Somebody asked me for a dramatic, well, a couple of people asked me for a dramatic, so here you go. I'm priming with my Fenty Beauty Primer in True Matte, and I'm using a foundation brush that I got a very long time ago. It was like in one of the first brushes that I ever got, and I'm prepping her T-zone here because like I said, she is oily. After you prep your client, you want to brush her eyebrow hairs upwards because I personally like to start off with the brows. And as you can see, I'm using my NYX brow powder pencil in Espresso, and I started in the middle of her brows just because I feel like it helps me to keep it a little bit more natural. And then I go ahead and I extend the brows like to the front of her nose, and I use upward hair-like strokes to create, you know, the natural effect in the front. Just make sure that you're using a light hand when you're doing this. We're past the Sharpie brows. We don't look like that no more. So, you know, we use a very light hand. We do everything ever so lightly when we do our makeup, because trust me, that's when your makeup's going to turn out more natural, and that's when you're going to be able to create a natural brow. And I don't know if this will help to think of it this way, but think of the spoolie as a diffuser. Every time you fill in your brows, you want to diffuse it to make it look more natural, so you comb through them. Try to have your eyebrows clean, or try to tell your clients to have their eyebrows cleaned when you fill them in, because this is just going to make it easier for you at the end of the day. And I know I tell y'all all the time, when you're filling in the brows, try to just make sure you're keeping it as neat as possible, because that also is going to leave you with less work to do at the end, because we're just going to be cleaning the bottom of the brows, because it's more natural looking when you don't touch the top. So I'm using my Morphe brush in E43. I love this brush because it's very precise, and I'm using my black opal foundation stick in Truly Topaz. After I clean up her brows, I use this as a base to drag this onto the whole lid of her eye before I apply my eyeshadow. Before starting the eyeshadow, you want to go ahead and just smoothen out that concealer that you just applied, and I'm using my Royal & Langnickel Dome Shadow Brush. This is a very dense brush, so it's just going to be great for moving this product and creating a smooth base for the eyeshadow. Okay, so I grabbed my Morphe 35OM eyeshadow palette, and I grabbed my BH Cosmetics 101 brush. Initially, to apply the transition shade, I used motions of tapping it into her crease, and then after I got a good color payoff, I did circular motions to blend that color out. And you want to apply as much of this product as you want, but you want to build it up. So on your first layer, you're not going to get the color payoff that you want, so you want to go ahead and do a second, third, fourth layer until it is dramatic enough for what you want. But if you want to keep this soft, then you just want to do 1 to 2, maybe even 3 layers. Just gauge it until you feel like it's enough for what you're trying to do. So I just want to give you guys a little tip here. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm holding my brush very far back because I'm going to give myself a little bit less control of the brush, because it's actually going to allow you to get a better blend that way. And I'm also blending the transition shade to be a little extended, just so I can make her eyes look longer than they are. And I want to also blend that transition shade a little higher into the brows than I usually do, because I don't know if you've noticed, but that does create a little bit more of an editorial, high fashion look when the eyeshadow starts right under the brows. Y'all ever had one of those times where you had to do something over and over and over again? This is one of those times for me. But anyways, hopefully I don't have to do this voiceover for the millionth time. I have my Morphe M575 brush. It is a smaller, more precise brush, because as you can see, I did grab a darker color in that same eyeshadow palette, and I'm using small circular motions, and I'm still holding that brush at the very end of the brush just so I can hand over some of the control to the brush. And I'm using small circular motions, like I said, at the outer corners of her eyes, just to make sure that I keep that dark color at the outer corners where I want it, and then I go back with my old brush and my old color, which is my first color, my transition color, to make sure that both of the colors are blending in together seamlessly. Here I'm taking an even smaller blending brush and an even darker shade in this eyeshadow palette, and I'm building the intensity even more on the outer corner of the eye. Then I go ahead, and a good little hack that I use just to make sure that I'm placing this shade where I want it is to lift up that brow by using my thumb to go ahead and pick up her skin, so I can see exactly where the lid is and exactly where I would want to place that color. And if you want to create a more dramatic eye, you would go a little bit above that crease just to kind of create a new crease for her, and this metallic shade will then show even more when she opens her eyes and looks straight ahead. So after I did that, I applied my NYX glitter glue because I'm going to be using a Inglot pigment on top of that metallic shade. This color is very, very, very pretty. Every time I see it, it's like I forget that I have it. It's just so pretty, and it's just so pretty. But after you add that color, you want to go back in with the darker shade that you had, and you want to blend it into the pigment just to make sure that everything on the eye is blending how it should. So to clean up the corners of the eyes, I'm using my concealer and my same concealer brushes that I use for the brows and stuff to go ahead and apply that product and blend that product out for both of the eyes. I applied my lashes off camera, and I did use my Audrey lashes from my line. So I used my MAC NC50 foundation on her, and at first I used my Real Techniques brush to apply the foundation, but to smoothen that foundation out, I used a beauty blender afterwards as well. So to conceal her areas, I used my black opal foundation sticks in Rich Caramel and Heavenly Honey. And to blend that out, I used my beauty blender. And guys, this is a moist beauty blender. It is like squeezed all the way out, but it's still not dry all the way. So you want to go ahead and blend that under the eyes, at the chin, down the bridge of her nose, and on her forehead. And you want to apply as much of this product as you want. So I want to go a little bit dramatic, so I'm going to apply about 2 layers of this, but you can gauge it for how you would want to do it. So to contour her areas, bring some color back into her skin, I am using I'm not even contouring yet, my bad. Here I'm cleaning up the edges of the concealer using the same brush that I used to apply her foundation. So the trick that I used was I had her smile, and then I just blended out like the perimeter of the concealer, if you understand what I mean. But now I'm using my contour, and this is the black opal foundation stick in Carob. And I have her suck in her cheeks, because that line that comes in when a client sucks in her cheeks is the line that you don't want to go past when you apply contour. And when you apply contour to the forehead, you just want to follow her hairline. To blend that out, I used my beauty blender. I formed the lines on the sides of the nose up into the brows with this brush, and then I used a small blending brush, and I used circular motions to blend that product out. So to set her face, I have my client look up, and I use my lower Mercier, is it Mercier or Mercier? I don't even know, but I use that in the translucent shade because it is bomb.com. Every time I cry or I tear up with this product, my makeup doesn't budge for the most part, and even if it does a little bit, it's not bad. So I set all the highlighted areas with this product here, and then I am going to set her face. Every time you apply a liquid or a cream product to yourself or to your client, if you have oily skin especially, you have to set it with a powder. So this is my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Powder. I love this powder, and this is in the color dark. I also blended in a little bit of dark deep as well, just to color match her shade a little bit better. And I used this product on all the areas that I used a liquid or cream product, except for the highlighted areas. I did not use the powder in those areas just yet because that already has a powder over it. It's the translucent powder, but later we'll talk about what you'll have to do for that. But as you can see, when you apply powder, you want to make sure that you're blending the powder into the concealer so we don't see any lines of like where the concealer stops or starts. You want to have your client suck in her cheeks again, and you want to apply powder to the contour. So this is going to be a darker powder. And you don't have to do this step because you already kind of set that contour powder with her initial powder. That powder though was to bring the color back into her natural skin. This powder would be to make her contour color even more intense. But like I said, you don't have to do this, but for dramatic purposes, I did it. To clean up that contour, I did use my Laura Mercier translucent powder with my beauty blender again. I had her suck in her cheeks, and I traced that line that pops up when she does that, and I just went ahead and I added a little bit more contour powder. You don't have to do that, but I just wanted this look to really pop. After I did that, I went ahead and I dipped into my CAROB Beauty blush palette, and I used my BH Cosmetics stippling brush, and I applied my blush. Now to apply my blush, I used tapping gestures to tap the blush into the cheekbones, and I used the excess on the brush to tap it into her forehead just to bring more color into her skin. If you ever felt like you applied too much blush and you want to de-intensify that, just go back in with your powder brush and you can go over that blush using circular motions, and that's going to diffuse the blush color for you. Go ahead and sweep away the setting powder, and then I went ahead and I set the nose contour powder with my MAC Mineralized in Dark Deep. Because I wanted under her eyes to really pop, I used my MAC Mineralized in Dark to sweep away the translucent powder that was sitting there. I did go ahead and use a generous amount of my Fix Plus spray to set that makeup, because this will assist in making that makeup melt into the skin so that she still looks like a real person and not like this plastic thing. I tapped that in with my beauty blender to make sure that melted into the skin really good, and I grabbed my Anastasia Glow Kit. Use a very undense brush for this because you don't want that glow to go on too chunky or too thick, and then you can go ahead and apply that to the top part of her cheekbones or your cheekbones. After I applied the highlight to the bridge of her nose and of course the other side of her cheekbones, I lined her waterline with a black liner. You could get that like from anywhere. And then I have this like flat pencil brush that I'm using to smudge that black liner out, just to make the eye a little bit more smoky at the bottom, which will make the eye pop more and just make it look a little bit more dramatic. So I did use my NYX liner in Espresso. For some reason it came off looking purple, and then I used my NYX lip gloss in bronze, and this is how the lip came out. I set her face again, and then I applied my ColourPop clear brow gel to her brows, and we were done. This is the final look, guys, and if you're not new to my channel, then you know that this is a little bit more dramatic than we usually create here. If you like this look, or even if you learned something from this video, I just ask that you leave a comment, like, or subscribe to my channel. It really doesn't even take much to do all three, so if you do, thank you so much, and see you next week.